Welcome to another edition of Badger Blitz TV, your Rivals.com destination for all things Wisconsin athletics. From on the field, inside Camp Randall Stadium, to on the court at the Kohl Center, my name is Matt Perkins, joining you from locations undisclosed. And I'm here with my buddy. I'm here with my buddy Clint Cosgrove, who is also in a different place this week. Dude, we are worldwide here.
Worldwide, making things happen, man.
Absolutely, dude. It's great to see you as always. We appreciate you. Clint has been down at the Rivals Underclassmen Challenge camp, just absolutely seeing some great dudes out in the heat in Atlanta. So, Clint, my first question for you is going to be: you just saw a lot of really high-end 2024 and 2025 kids. Was there anyone at this camp that stuck out to you that you think would be a great fit for Wisconsin, would make sense as a Badger?
Yeah, the Midwest contingent wasn't huge this year, just because of circumstances and everything like that. But these were all kids who stood out at the Rivals Camp Series events and then were invited down to this challenge. So, some of the top young players in the nation, 5-star kids, high 4-star kids, but also some under-recruited kids. Just from the Midwest contingent, Cayenne Johnson is one kid who stands out. Now, he's got a UConn offer and a Houston offer right now. But if you go on Twitter right now, you'll see one of the grabs that he made today. It was phenomenal, one-hand circus catch. And he just tore it up all day. People were extremely surprised when they found out, because some of these coaches, we have former NFL players, coaching there. They're like, how many offers, where do you have offers from? And he's like, UConn and Houston. And they're like, what? So to me, and I've been watching him since he was a freshman. I think he's a definite Power 5 kid. Doesn't have necessarily Power 5 size right now, but he's not small. But he's a polished route runner, incredible ball skills, incredible body control. And like I said, he just has the 2 offers from schools that Wisconsin should have no problem beating, especially with him being at Bolingbrook in Chicago. Same high school as Amarion Stewart, who I believe Wisconsin's offered. Amarion was there today. He was fantastic as well. He's a 4-star player, and he has a lot of offers. But Cayenne Berry's the less recruited one up there, and Wisconsin's done well at Bolingbrook in the past, and to me he's in their wheelhouse. And just looking at his offer situation right now, I think he could be a heck of a target. Another kid, now this is a 25 who's going to end up being huge. He's from East St. Louis, Sale Reyes, and he is Antonio Johnson Jr., the All-American corner
from Texas A&M,
from Texas A&M. That's his little brother.
Oh,
and so Antonio will be a first-round draft pick next year. And I've known the family for a while, and Sale just actually went down and camped at Texas A&M, got an offer from them. He's bigger than me, and he's a 2025. I mean, he's a good-looking kid. He can play. So he's another one that Wisconsin would probably want to get in on early. His offer list is probably going to be pretty substantial when it's all said and done. And I know his brother's going to push hard for him to go to A&M. So, but you never know. He talked high of Illinois. Illinois had just offered him, and because it was close to home. And East St. Louis is a lot closer to Madison than it is to
College Station.
Yeah,
well, I was going to say, but the other thing about Texas A&M, they're going to drop the bag. So,
Oh, yeah. Well, I can't say that.
Well, I know you can't say that. I can say that as, maybe not. Well, nowadays it's just NIL, right? Nowadays it's like, okay, who's going to put together the best NIL package? And we know that Texas A&M has deep pockets. They've got really, really deep pockets. And so they're going to be able...
Nick Saban.
Yeah. We don't need to get back into that discussion right now, Clint. But I think it's really interesting just to see, just a quick tangent here. The kids who seem to be really into the NIL stuff don't really, that doesn't necessarily, I'm not saying that Wisconsin doesn't vibe with that, but what I am saying is that Wisconsin preaches something on these visits. They preach family, they preach culture much more so than some of this other stuff, which I think some fans really appreciate, right? They appreciate the culture of the program and what all that means, but it also means that you might not be able to get some of that really high-end talent that is going to command 7-figure NIL deals. And one of those kids that we've been talking about is Tacket Curtis. He's been the number one guy on their board, I think, since they started looking at this class. The outside backer, edge rusher from Many, Louisiana. He's a top 100 kid in the country outstanding outside linebacker, and I love him. Dude hits like a freaking freight train. Like he goes in there and he
He does.
absolutely lights dudes up. Wisconsin seemed to be the leader for him for a long time. Now it looks like Ohio State is going to kind of come in and really get on him again. A lot of NIL stuff. He said he isn't really as concerned with NIL as certain other things, but let's face it, like if Ohio State comes knocking, you're going to listen. So, assuming
Yeah.
that Curtis, doesn't land with the Badgers, who are a couple other edge guys from, probably from the Midwest that they could look at to sort of replace him on what they thought they were going to be picking up for this class. Now, there's maybe a little under recruited guy, typical guy that Wisconsin goes for. Any names pop into your head?
Yeah, on the under recruited front, there's a kid, Rocco Marcelino, I believe is how you say his last name, but he's out of Omaha, Nebraska. Now, he was a kid that was recommended for our rivals camp in Indianapolis. I didn't know much about him. He showed up, and I mean, he looked like a rock star off the hook, and then he showed up and he played. I mean, he was going against some of the top offensive linemen in the country and winning reps against them. He was a tough kid. He was going rep after rep. And he is in Lincoln, Nebraska. Nebraska has not offered. I do think he's in their wheelhouse. I could see maybe if they lose out on some of their top kids, him getting an offer from them. But he's definitely a kid that I would consider at Wisconsin. And it's not too late to get in on him unless, much has changed since I've been on the road. I haven't been able to, track it as closely. Another kid would be Messiah Blair out of King. Now, he does, he's got a lot of Big Ten offers. I think Iowa might be his leader, but he's a big 6'7", long, raw kid with a ton of upside. No guarantees with him, but I just think he has a chance to be special. And you have to project him so he doesn't have the Ohio States and those sort of things because they're looking for a kid who's, they can get the kid who's like that, but already polished.
Yeah.
Whereas Messiah's upside, though, to me is as high as it gets. So he would be one. He's a Detroit King in Michigan. Mason Miragin, he's another Michigan kid. Wisconsin has not offered. He did visit in March, I believe.
Yeah, he was there. He was up there for the junior
right
day. I think like the 26th or something like that. He was up there.
Okay. I think his biggest offer right now is Illinois. That's his only official visit that I think he has planned. So I mean, that's one that Wisconsin could go and battle for if they wanted to. He might not be at the top of their board, but if you're missing out on your guys, he is a kid who does have upside. He can rush the passer. He's got some good size. He's got a lot of offers. He just doesn't have a lot of Power 5 offers. So he's one of those guys that you typically see in the past that, right before signing day when defensive linemen come into premium, he gets taken, maybe he's committed to Ohio and then he ends up at Ohio State. It's one of those kids. He's not a high end kid right now, but he is a very good player and he's got a chance to be very good and he's athletic. Those would be the three from the Midwest, just off the top of my head, that I would say are potential guys. I'm sure there's more, and there will be kids who pop up this season who we've never seen before. And had I not just watched 100 of the top underclassmen, I could probably recall a few more off the top of my head. So.
It's okay, man. We appreciate the grind. That is what we're here for. Last thing we want to talk about, actually, one of the best questions. I mean, we appreciate all the questions you guys give us on the board in the den. Please keep bringing them. But Shootsman had a really interesting question that I wanted to pose to you. His question is that has geography become more of a factor in where players go to school, especially since the pandemic started, right? There was a lot of travel restrictions. So I think the logic behind this is that, states with a lot of, in-state talent, your Texases, your Californias, your Floridas, are we seeing more kids stay at home because of travel restrictions, or are things sort of changing now that we're getting more back to quasi-normal?
Yeah, so at first it was a big deal, because what happened is, COVID came out of nowhere, the restrictions came out of nowhere, and these guys, a lot of schools, they might have really liked a kid, but they hadn't had them on campus, gotten to know them, and so they couldn't go and see them, and then they couldn't get them on campus. So they were forced to kind of stick with the guys that they had good feeling for, that they thought could be a good culture fit as well as football fit, and that they had eyeballed in person. So it did become a lot more regional because the majority of your visits before official visit season, unless you're one of these national programs where every kid wants to go down there, um, they were regional visits. So teams were forced to stick with regional kids. They weren't forced to, but they chose to for the most part. So the two things that you saw were more regional in-state recruiting, and then the other thing that you saw was a lot of kids who would usually be FCS or lower end FBS players going D3 and D2. So you're either going to see a lot of those kids going to the NFL from lower levels in a couple years, or you're going to see a lot of them transfer to bigger schools in the coming years. So what has happened since the COVID restrictions have ended is it's gone the exact opposite direction. Kids are going everywhere. They're taking every opportunity to see any school they can, whenever they can. And so it's kind of like I've never seen so many unofficial visits in my life, which is crazy because official visits start so early now. But these kids are wanting to get it done and they want to see all of these schools. I don't know if it's fear of something happening again or if it's just a response to they weren't able to do it before. So they're going to go out and do it and make the most of the opportunities out there. So at first it definitely, was restrictive. And now I think it's gone the opposite direction where it's almost too much of kids going all over the place.
Well, so I think that, especially if you're at one of these powerhouse schools, right, that has a half dozen to a dozen kids who are going D1 every year, they saw what happened to those upperclassmen, right? They saw what happened to those 2021, those 2022 kids. They saw they didn't get to take those visits. They saw that they were kind of cooped up in the recruiting. So I feel like they're just trying to, make up for it, right? Because they saw what happened to them. They don't want to have it happen to them. And plus, let's face it, official visits are pretty awesome. OVs are pretty awesome experiences. So you want to get as many as you can, especially I would imagine, let's say you're a kid from the Midwest, you've never been to California, you want to take that USC official. You've never been down to the South, you want to take that Georgia, that Florida State, that Miami official, right? Sort of experience all those different things. You get the opportunity, you got to take it. So I think it's really interesting to see how so many of these guys are crisscrossing the country now. And good for them, right? Good for them. I think that absolutely,
no
this is the time to do it because you're not going to get this other opportunity because if you're going to go to the NFL, you don't really get to choose where you play. You get drafted, right? You're not until that second contract are you really choosing where you get to play. So this is their chance to do that. So I think that's I think it's really interesting the way that COVID has affected recruiting. Also, on the flip side, you see how a lot of these schools had to step their game up to reach out to and make, virtual visits and things like that. So I think it really changed the way that a lot of these recruiting departments thought about the way that they interacted with their recruits. So whether they are up in...
No question.
Yeah, whether they're up in Wisconsin or an ode to my great-grandfather whose hat I'm wearing down in Texas. So
that's a beauty right there.
It is. It is. Thank you, my great grandfather, who I'm named after. I appreciate that. I appreciate him. His hat. He was a big man. He was a big man who actually played football at Amherst College in Amherst, Massachusetts.
Did he really?
Yep, D3. So
a smart big man.
Yeah, he was. He was. I mean, he was 6'4" back in the 1910s. So
that's a monster.
Yeah, he was 6'4", 220, and I think he graduated in 1912 or something like that, 1914. So yeah, he was a big boy.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, I know, right? Clint, listen, man, we appreciate your time coming to us from all reaches of the globe. I know you're down the Atlanta airport right now. So we appreciate you taking the time. We'll be back next week with more recruiting stuff here on Badger Blitz TV with our main man, national recruiting analyst Clint Cosgrove, Rivals.com. Check out BadgerBlitz.com. Make sure you guys are staying up to date. Hit us up in the den. Just keep the questions coming. We love it. We love to hear from you guys. Make sure to check out me and Bernie next week. We got Tyler Biotish coming on the podcast. That's going to be a lot of fun. So, stay tuned, and till next time, we'll see you in the den.